made it. It's the last. Have we made? Yeah, we have made it.
We have made it.
We have. Just checking. Right. Okay. So this is the last Paddock Pass podcast Grand Prix race review show from the Ricardo Tormo Circuit, the Valencian Grand Prix. As you might be able to see to those people watching on YouTube, we have the MotoGP awards going on behind us. There might be some people wandering into shot because there's still a fair few journalists here. But the most important thing is that the two most critical journalists are still here, David Emmett and Neil Morrison. Neil, you're on deadline with some various clients, Australians, so we got to hustle along with this podcast. And Dave, you've got your fantastic wife here as well, which means for us to take any more of your time keeping you away from her would also be a crime. So we're going to have to, hustle along as well. A reminder, guys, that we're backed by Renthal. So if you have a street bike in the garage and you want a high-quality accessory, then head to renthal.com. Use the Fit My Bike tool, and you'll be able to get some new bars, some new grips, new chain, for exactly the motorcycle that you have. You'll use that tool and you can get the accessories. So, and Pole Position Travel as well. Thank you for your support throughout a whole season. We hope your clients enjoyed a fantastic time here at the Valencian GP, and get planning for 2026. The calendars are out. You know where the races are going to be. If you fancy a trip, if you were in Valencia, you're one of the almost 94,000, I think, today. The crowd. Yep. Well over 200,000, I think.
And there was a lot of people, here yesterday as well. I mean, it was almost packed yesterday, or it looked very busy. And then, today was just round.
I think that's the 10th Grand Prix from the 22 that we've had, the longest ever season in MotoGP that, the circuits have been sold out. So I think over 3.5 million fans have watched MotoGP live at some point this season. So it's been another sort of hit for the numbers, I guess you could say.
I'm not even going there.
On this podcast, we're going to talk about some of the main talking points from the race today, as well as our usual categories, such as our moments, our grades, our highs and fires. And on that note, I'd like to come over to you, Neil, to explain to us what really stood out for you from this Grand Prix.
Well, I hope you don't think I'm a sadomasochist, but I'm going to choose...
We do, but carry on.
I'm going to choose a moment on the first lap of the race, the MotoGP race on Sunday, in which Johann Zarco got a little ambitious, to put it mildly, going into turn 4, lifted up Pecco Bagnaia and ran Bagnaia into the gravel. And I don't want to make this seem as though I was laughing at Pecco, but it was just hard not to think like what that moment meant in terms of how it encapsulated his season. And it was hard not to just like kind of snigger in a way that was like, oh God, can you really believe this? Everyone just felt like, oh, poor Pecco. And to be honest, it ended the season early, and it's probably a good thing that it was ended early, because he can kind of just throw this in the dustbin. It's been a horror show. And for that to kind of be neatly surmised in that first lap incident, I thought, that's what stood out.
Do you think that moment stands out more than him running out of fuel and just sort of holding his head in his hands on Saturday?
I mean, where do we start? We're on the deadline tonight, so we don't. That's a separate podcast. We'll see if the opposite.
Well, he did say in his media debrief his race lasted all of 25 seconds, and I think you asked him, apart from, was it 2020 or was 2019, his first season in MotoGP, does this rank as one of the worst? I think he concurred pretty swiftly.
Yeah. And he said at some point over the weekend that it's not as if he's going to find the magic cure on Tuesday. It's going to be quite a long process, I think, to recover from this.
Yeah, I think he can't wait until Sepang, because Sepang is going to be, first of all, where Ducati will have a much clearer idea of what the bike is going to be, and also it won't be 2025 anymore.
I think he can't wait.
What was your moment, Dave?
My moment was the Moto2 race. Manu Gonzalez pulling into the pits. It was.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I mean there was a lot to choose from. It was actually I really enjoyed today. It was just very, very stupid, very weird, and lots of weird and strange things happened. So yeah, I enjoyed it. No, Manu Gonzalez pulling into the pits. Really, he lost the race pretty much from the start, because he didn't really gain any positions. He did try and battle and make his way forward. Didn't really happen. Used up his rear tyre. Just completely ran out of rear tyre. As did his teammate Senna Aegis, which makes me, I was talking to Peter Baum about this earlier. He says, yes, sometimes they will choose a particular setting to try to get a little bit more grip, get more out of the tyre, but you can use too much of it, and that's what it looks like. They just both ran out of tyre, went backwards. Manu came in, changed his tyre, went back out again. And that was very much the championship over. Diogo Moreira insisted on changing into a golden suit for some reason. I don't know why they keep doing it. It looks awful.
It's your countryman, Revit.
Yes, no, they're very
bastions of taste.
Yes, very fine leathers, just not in that colour.
Okay, I'm going to pick for my moment. Again, people watching this on YouTube and our video format will be able to see just like these windows to my left, and just outside is a little balcony, about sort of 2 rows of sort of seating or standing, and it was fantastic just to be able to watch the first couple of laps of a MotoGP race in the flesh. And it sounds ridiculous for maybe a journalist to be saying this, but it was also bookended the season because we started the year in Buriram, which also has like another little terrace outside the media center. And thanks to the proximity of the big screens, you can actually just be professional and have a little bit of a fan experience. So that was my personal little highlight from this Grand
Prix. And the thing about here is if you stand on that balcony, you can actually see the whole thing. And it's really useful if you are following, because the cameras are following the barrel at the front, but sometimes you want to see what's happening, 6th, 7th down the field.
I would also like to give a notable nod to Raul Fernandez and his wonderful overtaking move to get second place in the race today. Raul is often a figure of derision on our podcast, David. And, I thought, the last couple of weeks, certainly the last couple of races, he's earned plenty of credit. So well done, Raul. Fantastic ride today. Neil, let's just barrel on to things to talk about. Marco Bezzecchi, somebody on this podcast correctly predicted that Marco would win today. No, you predicted Pedro Acosta.
Okay. Our predictions.
It was me. It was me. I predicted that Bezzecchi would win. And he didn't have any issues with his ride height devices. He kind of, in very typical Bezzecchi fashion, when asked what he had changed on his bike compared from the sprint yesterday, where it was a bit of an underwhelming performance, the technical issue aside, said, I just changed the tyres. I mean, that was it. And Bezzecchi, like he did in Portugal, Dave, he just controlled things from the first few seconds right the way to the flag.
Yeah, I mean, it was a proper light to flag there. I mean, fair play to Raul. Raul did look at times like he was chasing him down, but just the gap was sort of varying sort of around sort of half a second, sometimes a little bit less. Sometimes it would grow to nearly a second. It really did look like Raul would catch it, but he just never did. Just a superb ride by Bezzecchi, managing the race all the way to the end. Yeah, and also a sign of how good the Aprilia has become. It's a really, really excellent motorcycle. Also, for me, growth for Marco Bezzecchi as well. He's become a better rider, much more mature rider. I said at the start of the season that losing Jorge Martin would actually be good for Bezzecchi because he'd have to grow into the role, lead the team. The weight of the team was on his shoulders, and that's really like what it looked like. Massimo Rivola was saying what really impressed him about Bezzecchi was his work ethic. He's been really, really good at working hard, just getting his head down, concentrating. That's it.
Yeah, but you did also say that losing Jorge Martin was good for Aprilia, which I thought.
Well, I think mean, they've won three races, 4 races. Marco Bezzecchi now has a motorbike to put in his front room because of a bet with Massimo Rivola that if he won three races, he'd get the bike. They are 3rd in the championship. They start the year, it looked like they might lose Jorge Martin, but now you sort of like think, well,
it'd be mad to go, wouldn't it?
Exactly. And also, there's going to be a few riders knocking on the door saying, "Hey, you got any bikes going?"
Yeah, that's a fair point, Dave. Actually, when you look at the bigger picture as a whole, it has been a remarkable season for Aprilia when you consider everything that's gone on behind the scenes with Martin. I just want to thank Bezzecchi and Raul because I was just. Maybe you could have told it on our Paddock Notes show last night, but the sprint really did suck the life out of me. I think everyone is on about 4% battery life at present in this media center, and that sprint yesterday was really quite processional and did make me think, am I going to be able to make it through Sunday? But delighted to say that while it wasn't a classic MotoGP race, it was quite entertaining. And, Raul, to be fair to him, really did bring a bit of the noise. Digia's battle with Acosta for 3rd was also quite entertaining. But yeah, it's not even really surprising to see Aprilia up here anymore. The first time they've ever won back-to-back MotoGP races.
Aprilia 1-2 for the first time in 2 years.
Yeah, and only the second time ever, I think, an Aprilia 1-2 in the Premier class. The first time they've ever finished in the top 3 in the Riders' Championship, as you said, Dave, and the first time they've ever finished as high as second in the Constructors' Championship. So it has been a brilliant year. It's been a really solid showing from Bezzecchi in the second half of this season. And I was just totting up some of the points in the second half of the year since we came back from the summer break, Austria onwards. Only Alex Marquez has scored more points than Marco Bezzecchi. Now, obviously, the caveat is that Marquez was absent for 4 races there, and he would have comfortably outperformed everyone in that little table. But still, Bezzecchi has been a real consistent performer. And let's be honest, probably should have won more races this year. Really hamstrung himself in Indonesia, should have won in Australia as well, but he shot himself in the foot in both those occasions. So, I think this final double win for him in Portugal and here in this double header has kind of put a bit of a gloss on this championship for them, and it's well deserved.
Our Patreon Janice Clayton said, "When will Adam finally forgive Bez?" Well. I mean, he's been great. He's been really good. He was quite good in the press conference as well. He's been good value. He's been good all weekend.
I'm not sure if I agree with the press conference, Dave, but I mean, proposing to your motorcycle, I mean, you and I are discussing how can you propose to something inanimate? It just does.
Have you heard about AI girlfriends?
I'm not saying
dolls.
The wooden leg thing was just stupid at Misano, and this is a new level. I mean, he's kind of eccentric, and he thinks it's kind of funny. So fair play to the guy. I don't need to forgive him. I mean, I think he's a fantastic rider. Although all this talk, as we mentioned on the note shows, of him being like a championship contender next year, I just don't buy into. If you see Bezzecchi's record in MotoGP, I think you asked him this earlier, Neil. I mean, it bounces from being 3rd to like 11th or 12th, and then he goes back to being 11th or 12th again like he did last year. Now he's back to 3rd. I mean, that trend would indicate that next year he's not going to be in for a good season. But, he has matured. I mean, he's taken on the mantle, like you said, Dave, of leading the factory. So the signs are good. But then as we had another question in from David Field saying, are we being led into a false sense of security or a false sense of competition for this year because Mark isn't here?
Yes, we are, to put it simply.
Yes.
You can only win what's in front of you. You can only,
you can only win what's in front of you. And I feel this end of season has taken on a slightly different edge. It's been quite weird and unpredictable. And we've ended up having, 7 different winners in 2025, when at one point it looked like we maybe only have 3. But still, we can all dream, can't we? And midway through this season, we were all looking toward 2026, thinking, goodness me, it could be a long season if Mark just continues this domination. At least we've had a bit of variety towards the end of this year to suggest that, maybe Aprilia could continue this good run and get back on kind of an even keel with Ducati. And it was another weekend when we didn't really see the best of them until Sunday. We've seen that quite a few times in the last couple of weekends. And it's also worth pointing out that, like, both these guys were super strong in Phillip Island. But for them to do it here in Valencia, where there's been an okay track record from Aprilia in years gone by, but it's not like it's been their track. Phillip Island most certainly has been a track where we expected them to be super, super strong. For them to convincingly kind of ride away from the likes of, Acosta will come on to him, I'm sure, a little bit, but, the Ducatis of Alex Marquez and Di Gianantonio, I think for them to do that here is a bit of a statement.
I know they kind of come together, but are you guys more impressed by Bezzecchi's progression or by Aprilia's?
That's a really good question, and honestly, I don't know.
It has to be Aprilia if Raul's winning GPs as well.
Yes. I mean, Aprilia have made big steps forward. I think also just from the first half of the year to the second half of the year, they came with some rear aero, which has really helped with braking stability, which was their big weakness. Their biggest weakness was corner entry in braking. Electronics, Lorenzo Savadori's worked a lot on electronics, and that's made a huge difference. Again, I think, in a way, losing Jorge Martin was an advantage because Savadori has spent a lot of time working on electronics during races, in race conditions, with new tyres, and that's made a really, really big, that's been a big help for them. So, I think I'm going to say Aprilia because Bezzecchi, we knew that Bezzecchi could be good. We saw it in 2023.
Could I risk your ire, Dave, and praise
At
Raul
the end of
Fernandez.
22 races?
Yeah. Wouldn't take much, would it? But I'm going to praise Raul Fernandez here because, I mean, this time a week ago, he was sat sidelines in Portimao and you were thinking all of that nice momentum that he showed, that he worked up in Indonesia and Phillip Island. I mean, it's gone. He had a disaster in Sepang. He had a disaster in Portimao where he crashed on Friday morning. His shoulder popped out, in too much pain to continue. And that was a brilliant performance. I mean, had he not, had he started on the front row, there's reason to believe that he could have actually beat Bezzecchi. It looked as though his rhythm was stronger after about lap 4 or 5 once he got into second, cleared Alex Marquez. And yeah, I mean,
2 more laps.
Yeah, 2 more laps, and it could have been his. I know he has a brilliant record at this track. He loves this track. He won here in both Moto3 and Moto2. But am I going to say this? Has the real Raul Fernandez finally arrived? I mean, there was a bit of evidence toward the end of this season that on this really good Aprilia, maybe he has finally exploded like Massimo Rivolo was predicting at the start of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the real Raul. I think all of it is the real Raul Fernandez, which is because it was just an absolutely outstanding ride today. He was really, really strong. And I think I agree. I think if he'd have started on the front row, he would have been in with a good chance of winning. But I also think that inconsistency is also the real Fernandez.
Well, it was a Fernandez day, wasn't it?
It was a Fernando, yeah, because Adrian got his first win as well. I did love Raul's helmet. I thought it was really, really well done. The Valencia flag with sort of all mud and dirt and stuff on it, which I thought was a really, really great sort of tribute. And I loved being here.
And okay, he's inconsistent, but at least we're actually starting to see something.
Exactly.
Something of that rider from Moto2. And it's taken 4 seasons now, but at least it started to arrive.
I want a one-line answer from the both of you because I have a question in from Arabiata93 who says, I'm interested in what you think is behind the big turnaround in Raul's form. Can't it just be a bollocking from Davide Rubio? Or, where's the contrast also with Ayagura?
I think it was a bollocking from not just from David Barivia, but from everyone. I think it was also just realizing that it was now or never. If he hadn't had a good season now, if he hadn't started to show what he was capable of, then he was out of MotoGP in 2027.
The clock was ticking.
The clock was ticking, and I think he knew it.
Yeah, and I think we would have seen this earlier in the season, but for such a complicated preseason where he injured himself, missed, let's face it, most of preseason, in fact, pretty much all of preseason in 2025, because when he did come back in Thailand, he was injured and wasn't anywhere near fully fit, and then had his head done in by the fact that Aguro was comprehensively beating him in the first couple of races. Had he started Sepang in a normal keel, then I think we would have seen this level maybe more mid-season.
He did say the Jerez test was really, really crucial for him because it was the first time that he could actually spend a day on the bike and ride and sort out a few things, and then the rest of the progress has come from there.
Neil, you picked an accident as your moment of the Grand Prix, and before the race even started, there was an incident. We had Franco Morbidelli running into the back of Aleix Espargaro, who was doing, a stoppie, I guess you could say, to try and lock part of. No, he wasn't trying.
No,
he
wasn't. No. Aleix said because that's what it looked like to me. That's what I thought. I thought he was doing a stoppie to lock his front ride high device down, but he wasn't. He said I was just sitting there in my grid slot. I was already where I had to be, and Franco Morbidelli just braked. Really, he braked too late and tried to cut across, and then just clipped the rear of Aleix Espargaro's Honda. He damaged Aleix Espargaro's Honda. Completely destroyed lots of it. Damaged the exhaust, his torque valve, so the back torque didn't work, so he couldn't brake. There was all sorts of other bits and pieces hanging off. I think he damaged some aero. He also damaged the swing arm. It just made a complete mess. So Aleix's race was also doomed. Morbidelli then managed to fall over. I mean, it was weird to look at.
It looked like it sort of slipped out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just looked really, really stupid, and it was really, really stupid. But again, Aleix said, "I don't want to blame him. These things can happen, but you need to approach the grid with a bit more calm, a bit more focus, because you do have so many different things to do: to lock the front down, to lock the rear down, to switch the launch control on, and then find your grid slot."
Also, riders not really paying attention on track is something quite topical that we've had in MotoGP recently.
Yeah.
You think you'd be a little bit more aware. Neil, as ever, we have questions from our patrons throughout this show. Adam Cole says, does Franco Morbidelli have the smarts to be in MotoGP? Perhaps a little harsh, but justified.
Yeah, I mean, he does have these moments where it seems as though his mind just blanks out a little bit. And as Dave said, just doesn't quite have that focus in certain moments where you think, what are you doing? I mean, there's been, I don't know how many incidents over the last 3 or 4 years where Franco's just been dawdling on the racing line during practice or qualifying session and not really been aware of what's going on around him. And Aleix made the point as well, it wasn't as if he was on the last row of the grid and Franco was approaching with like great speed. He was mid-pack,
He was,
basically?
14th or 15th.
14th or 15th, and Franco was already having to come through to get through a couple of riders. And I think we saw this previously in Mugello. Johann Zarco, I think, had a bit of an incident, a collision. From my memory, I need to go and check this out. But
yeah, he managed to do a stoppie himself, I think, and then clattered into the back of someone.
Right, exactly.
It's happened with Bezzecchi as well. Bastianini, where I can't remember if it was Bastianini running into someone or someone running into Bastianini, but again, a ride-high device is trying to lock the front down for the whole shot and just running into stuff. So it is, you really have to pay attention.
And the kind of the crazy thing is that on Saturday, after Alex Marquez qualified on the front row, he was saying, I need to start looking at what Morbidelli is doing because he's the fastest Ducati rider. This has been a brilliant practice Friday and start to Saturday for Morbidelli. I mean, he was really, really fast, didn't get a great qualifying spot down in the third row of the grid. And then from to kind of end his weekend like this, breaking his left hand in the process and rolling himself out of the Tuesday test. I mean, it's disastrous. It's completely disastrous.
He's kind of on thin ice, don't you think? I mean, I don't just mean with like Simon Crafar and race direction, but also in terms of his opportunities in MotoGP. Because if people start to view Franco a bit more of a liability rather than someone who's going to be bringing consistent results, then that's not going to be. I mean, he's already at the last stopping point, isn't he? In VR46 on a Ducati. I mean, that is. It's a nest, but it's also a little bit of pressure. If you don't deliver or you're perceived to be not up to the job, then you're out.
Yeah, I mean, like there is a clear upside because he can be really, really good. We've seen that, but there's a huge downside as well because of all these boneheaded moves. And there are days where he just doesn't turn up.
Yep. And you could make a point for the GP24 being one of the best race bikes ever built. Franco's been on it for 2 years and has only scored a handful of podiums. Now, impressive podiums nonetheless, but still,
there's more in the bike.
You feel like if you're a top rider, you should be winning races at least in your second year on that machine.
Firmino Reguer arguably has made just as much impact as Franco's done in any season on the same
Alex
bike.
Marquez finished second in the championship.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving on, another narrative or story from today, Dave, was Luca Marini's admirable performance to get into P7. We were kind of willing him to do it because of the larger ramifications.
Yeah, exactly. They needed 9 points after the disaster of the sprint race where Joan Mir tried to go up the inside, got on the dirty side of the track and then took out Luca Marini. So no points in the sprint race, which would have made their lives a little bit easier. Luca Marini needed 9 points. He got a little bit lucky in the sense that he had Jack Miller ahead and Jack Miller just ended up running out of tyre. But he got what he finished where he needed to, seven places. Honda ended up scoring the limit for Category C is 35%. Honda ended up scoring 35.01% of the points needed to of the maximum points. So that means that they move up a category. It means that they do lose some things. But then again, when I asked, for example, Aleix Espargaro, you move up, you haven't lost, what have you lost? He said, we haven't lost anything. This was a goal from the start of the season. It's a matter of pride, first and foremost. Secondly, they don't really lose a lot because of the fact that what they lose is the ability to change engines, but they won't be changing engines a lot anyway.
Next year, last year of the formula.
Exactly. Also, the engine is pretty good now. They have I think they have a new engine. Aleix had a new engine, which is going to be pretty much the last version of it before they come. That's been very good. They've improved the horsepower, improved the torque.
As fast as almost anything out there now.
Yeah, exactly.
And Aleix said there's not many manufacturers that have the capabilities to bring 3 brand new engines in one season. It's quite an effort by Honda.
Yeah, think how much effort Yamaha have gone to for so little result. But yes, Honda have done a fantastic job. all of the mechanics, again, 22 races. It's you're a lot of the way, a lot of time away from home. You don't get much rest. They were doing private tests during the very short summer break that we had. That did not delight the factory riders. They don't have to do that. The mechanics don't have to do that. The development of the bike is in really good hands. Aleix, again, was quite interesting because he said basically at the start of the year, Taka is going to be in charge of developing the first iteration
the 850,
of the 850.
With the Pirellis.
Yes, with the Pirellis, while Aleix works on the he works on the 26 bike.
Yeah.
Then once the 850 is in a good enough state, they'll get handed over to Aleix, and they'll both start working on it to prepare it for 2027. So they're working really, really smart. I think maybe that's the biggest change that Albesiano has made, is just they're working much, much smarter. They're making really good use of their resources, and they don't need the concessions anymore. So they were delighted to be rid of it. And really, again, pride. It's the Japanese culture is not to be. They don't want to be in the bottom. They would have done anything to get out.
It's deserved. I mean, Mir has had an uptick in performance. Marini's been great. He did the job when he's been required to do it, like he did
clutch.
today.
I think they would call that a clutch. A clutch
performance. Yes.
Yeah.
And Joan Zarco, of course, taking that emotional win in somewhat fortuitous climate circumstances in France, but a win nonetheless. Neil, any kind of comments at all on Honda, or should we delve straight into Honda's new rider for next year and the last world champion to be confirmed this year?
Not really much else to add other than we heard that Joan Mir's side of the box was celebrating Marini taking 7th place off Jack Miller just as wildly as Marini's side of the box, which shows you just how desperate everyone was to make that step. And the fact that it's going to be helpful to, I think, all the personnel within the team, less time away from home, because the test team can do that. I was down in pit lane on Saturday morning looking into Aleix Espargaro's box. I counted 15 HRC technicians in that box. That is a serious amount of manpower. That is a serious amount of investment in that test team just to be here this weekend. So, I mean, it's great because for so long they were just rudderless, completely at sea, without any kind of direction. All the money in the world, but no sort of sense of what to do with it.
Yep.
And you feel that over the last 18 months, there has been a plan. It's been coherent. They've invested wildly. Aleix Espargaro was saying on Thursday that he's been at Sepang 3 separate times in the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Tested in another place as well, which escapes me right now. It might have been Jerez. But, I mean, crazy investment, crazy amount of testing time that's gone into this. And from what Aleix was saying, this 2026 bike, early version of the 2026 bike that he was riding here this weekend, big improvement on what Mir and Marini were racing at the end of the season. And that is already quite a competitive package. So, you think maybe there's only Portimao in the second half of the season where Honda haven't come away with like a decent-ish result. And even then, that was Mir facing 2 technical issues when probably had the pace or the speed to finish inside the top 6 or 7. I mean, it's fair to say that this is now a very consistent top 6, top 7 bike, and on its day, even better.
The one weakness they still have is when there's low grip. They tend to suffer more when there's low grip, but apart from that, it's a very complete bike.
Yeah, Portugal was not a great weekend for them, was it?
And just very, very quickly, Luca Marini may have had the quote of today when Dave pointed out to him that he must have learned from his brother and, to an extent, Marc Marquez on how to foster a really good atmosphere within his team. And he said, maybe Marquez is our brother and we don't know it. Which, I'm sure if that gets back to VR, he might be expelled from the family dinners for a few weeks.
But listen, just before we talk about the first Brazilian world champion in MotoGP, just very quickly, Yamaha, Dave, in contrast to Honda, Fabio Quartararo sliding out of the final Grand Prix. Jack Miller not doing too badly, but as he said, this was a track that might be able to hide some of the issues they had with the inline 4. Just a quick video, that was it, to say bye-bye to one of the most influential, Japanese motorcycles in the MotoGP era.
Yeah, shame.
And that's it. We're into V4s now, whether it's crap or not.
Yeah, exactly. We had the official confirmation. Augusto Fernandez was quite interesting. He did briefly say, this is basically the V4 engine in the old M1 configuration, the old M1 frame, older M1 aero. At Sepang, they will have a new or they'll have the V4 engine with full power in a bike which is actually built around what a V4 can do. Then we'll really see what they're built. at the moment, they are a long way behind. The only thing that he said is, look, at least we understand where the problems are. We understand exactly what the problem is. It was confirmed again now. He's expecting the confirmation from the test on Tuesday, and then we'll see what they bring at Sepang.
There was a perverse part of me, Neil, in the Moto2 race that kind of wanted some drama, some incidents happen, maybe for Diogo Moreira to run off track, or I don't know, something to sort of like spice it up. But I mean,
you say perverse, I say slaggy.
Yeah, definitely. Well, whatever, semantics. But it was Moreira just approached it with a kind of maturity way beyond his tender years, not only in racing but in life. And we have to say the right guy won, don't we?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's without question. I have to say I was a bit of a late convert to the Diogo Moreira fan club. I was a bit of a skeptic for big chunks of this year because I never saw him do anything truly special in Moto3. He won just once in 2 seasons there, and okay, that's a fine achievement. But when you compare him to his peers, that was quite far short of the likes of David Alonso or Danny Holgado. But I think he has taken just an enormous step forward this year. I was looking back through his championship and I was like, you know what? With actually the exception of Argentina, where he had a duff tire, America, where it was wet, he was like top 5 potential at least at every single race from the very start of the season. So the consistency's been there from the very beginning of this year. And then what we saw from the summer break onwards was just this kind of relentlessness and kind of incessant gaze in which he was completely focused on reeling in Manu Gonzalez.
Well, just to cut across you a moment there, Neil, because he mentioned after the accident at Sachsenring, which preceded the summer break, when they came back, he said they took a different approach to the race weekends. And it's like what you've been saying on the podcast over the last month or so or more, that on Friday he hasn't really been there. It's almost like they've taken a very chilled out approach to Fridays, and then he's sort of ramped things up from Saturdays.
Yeah, whenever the pressure's on, he's proven that he can deal with that pressure better than Manu Gonzalez was able to do this year. So yeah, lots to admire. I think his performance in Indonesia and Portugal. Indonesia, where he was in a direct fight with Manu Gonzalez and came out ahead. And then Portugal, obviously, where nerves beset him in the early laps, but he overcame them to then take a definitive step towards the championship. Super impressive. And there were a couple of performances this year where you sat back and thought, wow, that is like only a special rider can do that kind of thing. Qualified 25th in the Sachsenring, was up fighting for the podium. Okay, made a mistake and then eventually crashed. But to do that at the Sachsenring, where it's notoriously difficult to overtake, incredibly impressive. Similar kind of comeback in Malaysia, where he qualified, 15th? And I think he was up in 6th or 5th.
It's like a Marquez style charge.
And put pressure on Manu Gonzalez, forced him to crash out. I mean, the kid has been relentless, and spoke to Livio Suppo, who obviously used to work with Ducati and Honda and MotoGP, is now working as an advisor for the Italtrans team. I spoke to him on Saturday, I think it was. Can't even remember which day I did what at this point of the season. But Livio was really good. Might actually throw this up on Patreon at some point in the next couple of weeks. But he was just saying, like last year, they were thinking there's something not quite right. There's something missing, and they'd heard all these stories about Diogo being so strong on a motocross bike, on a flat track machine. Obviously trains a lot with Marc Marquez and Dani Pedrosa. Livio having close relationships with those guys, having worked with them in the past. Asked, and Mark was like, well, the guy's as fast as me on a motocross bike, so he's very quick. And he asked Dani Pedrosa, what do you think about him? And Pedrosa said, when I see him on a dirt bike or a flat track bike, he looks completely at home. When I see him on a road bike, it's not that kind of same comfort. So I think the team said at some point last year, look, I think you should do less dirt bike riding, focus more on riding on asphalt. And it seems as though that is kind of paid off dramatically, and he's really been able to hone his craft. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, Suppo is obviously going to talk his rider up, but he did mention that Casey Stoner never really showed his amazing potential in 125s or 250s, and then we saw the best of him in MotoGP, where it was like, whoa,
power to play with,
pole position in his second GP. Now, I'm not thinking Diogo's going to be doing that, but Livio was indicating he thinks he's got the talent to really be successful in MotoGP and maybe even show more than he's done this year.
Yeah, I mean, in Portimao, Colin Vire was saying after their sort of debrief had finished, Colin Vire was saying that like he'd been really impressed by Diogo Moreira from the start. He said, like, start of the year, he was ready for MotoGP. He was really impressed by how he handled the pressure. And what we do know is that Moreira will be on basically the latest spec.
Honda. Confirmed that, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. So he's going to get a better start than Somkhat Chantra did. Chantra didn't really get a fair shake of the stick, if you like, because he was always on an older bike, wasn't getting the upgrades. Also because he wasn't performing, and he was a rookie and couldn't do anything. So Moreira is going to start off already on a much better foot with a much better chance on a much better bike, because the Honda is really, really good now, and I think Honda are really going to Honda is going to be the really interesting bike to watch for the rider market next year.
Hot take.
Yeah.
The leathers were a little bit tacky, and you'll like the fact as well, Dave, that he had a football celebration, but the kid actually hates football.
Oh well,
so
man off my own heart.
Well, I was quite disappointed when I found that out. There we go. But yeah, Brazilian world champion, bit of samba flair to the championship, liking that. Good stuff. I hope he sinks straight into MotoGP from 2026, and it'll be interesting to see what he kind of does in the test. If that natural talent already comes through. Let's move on to hire and fires. Neil, please tell me who you want to hire first of all.
Right, I'll be fast because I've got two. Very briefly, I mean, we haven't spoken about him. Pedro Acosta, really impressive weekend again. Okay, didn't quite make the podium today, but was on the podium on Saturday and keeps that really strong run of doing this in the second half of the season going. In the past, this has been a really good track for KTM. Podiums with Paul Espargaro in 18 and 20. Been a really good track for Brad Binder. I think he was third and second in 22 and 23. No, sorry, 21 and 22, and then was leading in 23 and crashed out. Binder was eighth today. Just couldn't really impact the top six at all.
From 15th on the grid.
Good comeback from Brad, but still, my point stands. And Pedro was up there taking the fight to the Aprilias and the Ducatis throughout the weekend, and even looking likely at one point to kind of be the dominant one in this Grand Prix. And obviously had that crash towards the end of FP2. I thought that was going to really impact him through the rest of a Saturday. It didn't. He managed to shrug that off. But actually, my real winner is not Pedro Acosta. It's Pirelli, because since Pirelli have come in, they've really shaken things up on Moto2. It's become one of the more entertaining classes in racing now. I think the most entertaining class in Grand Prix this year. We've spoken about Diogo Moreira and his fantastic comeback, the biggest comeback in intermediate class history this year. But Pirelli has also contributed to 11 different race winners. Ethan Guevara is the 11th different winner this year. We've had 18 different podium finishers, which equals the same number of podium finishers we had in 2024, as well as
six first-time winners.
Six first-time winners, and I think 3 or 4 additions into the annals of the best Moto2 races we've ever seen this year. Silverstone, Phillip Island, Hungary, just to name but a few. So yeah, the racing has been sensational. The show's been great. We had a great championship fight, and I think a big chunk of that is down to Pirelli.
Pirelli's also been really, really good for Moto3, because they've thinned the field out a little bit. So what you've got at the front of the Moto3 fight now is the 5, 6, 7 riders, but clearly the best riders with the best pace, and they're starting to use race strategy. Whereas previously, what it would be is 15 riders would sort of arrive at the final corner, and it was almost pull a lottery ticket. Now it isn't. Now it's much more down. There's a lot more racecraft needed, which is what you need. The point of these classes is to make better riders ready for the next step.
Dave, Neil is singing about a tyre. So you've converted him. Well done. You finally got there. For my hire, it's a little bit of a sympathy vote, but I'm going to say Pecco. Because I get the feeling that his name is going to be popping up a lot in the most disappointing rider of the year kind of categories when these sort of online articles, whatever, pop up in the next couple of weeks. And I just feel immense sympathy for him. He was asked actually about his future in the media debriefs post-race. He said his intention is to stay firmly with Ducati. There was no kind of Acosta-esque, if the brand don't improve the bike for me, or if they don't improve the package for me, I'm off. There was very much like, I'm a Ducati guy. I brought them their championship. I want to stay. And I part of me wants to see him on another bike, just so we could see how kind of good he is. But I still think there's a hell of a rider there, and I'm praying probably out of anybody else from the Tuesday test, because I know everyone's going to be salivating about Top Rack. I hope that Pecco actually, heads the timesheets and is happy again.
Yeah, that's those comments. I think were giving the impression that he's actually the one that will have the say
Exactly.
decision for 2027. And more than all the disappointments on track together, I think what will sting Pecco most from 2025 is that he got your sympathy winner vote from this Grand Prix. There's nothing worse than the sympathy winner vote.
Oh, you're questioning my human resources skills now. We've done our hires, right? Yeah. No, yours. Sorry, Dave.
Yeah, my hire is Luca Marini for his performance today. He got the job done. He's been just an incredibly solid rider all year. He's a rider you can rely on. His feedback is fantastic. He's helping to develop the bike, and he's probably going to lose his ride in the factory squad in 2027, because they're going to the bike, thanks to in part thanks to his work, he has put Honda in a position to actually start tempting over big names.
Bet Honda are regretting giving Zarco that 2-year deal now.
What is a 2-year deal? How long is a 2-year deal? I mean,
it's a superbike, Neil. I mean, they could sort of push him. They can't really push him aside. I think they just use him as a guinea pig, really, like they've been doing.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to need 2 riders, but maybe they go for 2. They'll either go for 2 big riders and put Luca Marini in Zarco's place and kick Zarco out, depending on how Zarco does. But anyway, this is a topic for the off season.
Where we make room for recruitment, we also have to push somebody out the door. Keep talking, Dave. Who's your dejection or rejection?
I would like to fire whoever hasn't banned whole shot devices yet, because
it's on the way, isn't it?
Yeah, but we've got to wait. We've got another year of this nonsense, because not only was Franco Morbidelli, we didn't hear from Franco after the crash, but I mean, it's clear they have so much to do to get ready. They've got to brake hard to lock the front. Lock the front whole shot device, then they've got to press the rear to get the rear down, then they've got to switch the launch control on. They've got lots and lots of things they've got to do, and especially the rear and front and rear whole shot devices, it's completely pointless. We don't need all that. Can we please scrap them? We saw Marco Bezzecchi have a problem in the sprint race. He lost a lot. Fabio Quartararo crashed.
Acosta.
Acosta. Fabio Quartararo crashed as well because his whole shot was wouldn't release until turn 4. He lost a whole bunch of places, ended up 12th, and then was just trying to come back. They're stupid. One of the problems is here, turn 1 is still quite fast. So again, you are braking hard, but from the start, you're not braking as hard as you would be from the front. So it's very tricky.
Braking and turning.
But at some point, we're going to be rid of them, and I can't wait.
Yes, summary execution not coming quick enough in your eyes.
Exactly. They could be banned from next year. We don't need them.
I'd like to nominate Franco Morbidelli for reasons that we've already discussed. Franco, be careful. Be very, very careful, because not only you're hurting yourself, hurting everybody else, and also your image quite substantially. Neil?
Franco Morbidelli as well. I mean, I've been looking at the MotoGP results sheet and trying to decipher if there's someone else I could add to that, but
Alex Rins, I mean, perpetual kind of
14th.
under delivery. But then he is riding the Yamaha. It's hard to call, isn't it? I would like to say to the person in Dorna, whoever decided to cancel the end of season party or not create one, I thought that was a bit of bad form. I mean, I think after a 22 race
party
season,
that I've never been.
We never. Okay, not for our own participation.
No, value,
but it's. I think the people working in your championship deserve a blowout.
Yeah. One other thing, the death of Moto2 means that there's an awful lot of people who are losing their jobs at the end of this year. There's a lot of people looking around.
Stop looking at me.
You've got the baggers to look forward to. You have.
But the reason that they can Moto2 was because of the commentary.
Yeah, that was definitely it. No, but I mean, literally, there are for the first time there's going to be a lot of people left without a job, scraping around looking for people. I know also there's a couple of truck drivers who've lost their jobs, and families rely on this income. So shout out to them, and hope they find something fun to do.
Now, what was your grade for the Valencian Grand Prix?
7. it wasn't a vintage Grand Prix. It's been a strange weekend in that my mood has been fluctuating quite wildly. It's been like a Richter scale when an earthquake is going off.
It's like I've been living with a teenager, honestly.
Exactly. It's been like trying so hard to tell myself that I'm completely in this and I'm not completely exhausted and I'm loving life. And it was working for a lot of that weekend, but there were little moments where that just facade dropped away and I kind of
When
found
we
myself
recorded
in,
note shows.
yeah. Normally when you hit record on our note shows on Thursday, Friday and Saturday. So it wasn't a weekend where I came in completely energized, but to be fair, it was quite an enjoyable Sunday. The sprint was terrible, but MotoGP today was quite interesting. Moto2 had an interesting fight. I thought it was going to be dominated by one rider. It was dominated by another one that I wasn't expecting, Ethan Guevara. And Moto3 was quite fun. So yeah, a pretty decent finale all in all. Let's be honest, this has never been a brilliant track for MotoGP racing. Trying to count back the great races that we've had in the dry. And you're looking at 2013 when Lorenzo tried to hold up the field, 2015 because of the dramatic circumstances, which we will not talk about anymore in this podcast. And that's really about it. So, it's not like we can go back through the kind of classic races roster in this track.
I like Valencia just because it usually has a closing chapter kind of feel to it. All of the events and the characters and the stories that popped up throughout the year are finishing. And, like it or not, it is the end of some sort of little story, I guess. And I love the energy of this place, the fact that the crowds are all surrounding it. Another capacity sellout, which, was a big benefit. The paddock was rammed. There were guests, left, right and center. And it just felt like MotoGP is a big deal. So for that and, for some of the stuff that we saw on track, another world champion crowned, which, excuse me, fortunately we can have on a frequent occasion here. I'm going to say an 8. You, Dave?
I am going to give it a 9 because
goodness.
Exactly. No, I mean, I really enjoyed it. Really glad to be back in Valencia. I don't think it should be the last race of the year. I think the last race of the year should be in Sepang because then you can have a test immediately afterwards, and you will know for sure that the weather is
right afterwards here.
Yes, I know, and it's going to be freezing, and there's going to be about 2 hours of useful track time.
That's great for you, though. You can snoop around.
Yeah, but they'll close the garage. They'll close the garages. Anyway, no, but I mean, I really enjoyed it, and it was just weird and stupid, and I love weird and stupid races. I mean, like Franco Morbidelli, for God's sake. I mean, it was a stupid move, but it was just one of those things like, what is going on?
Indeed.
Why is this happening? I really, enjoyed that. Again, Pecco Bagnaia. I feel so sorry for him. I would wait until January the 1st to buy a lottery ticket if I was him. It just, lots and lots of sort of strange things. Bezzecchi's win, it just made it. And it is just a fantastic atmosphere.
Neil, you sound like a smart aleck. Dave, you think you're a smart aleck. But amongst our patrons, we actually do have some smart alecks. Is there anybody who managed to actually put the whole prediction set together? This is the point where we look at our screens for some names.
Well, there was only one that was able to correctly predict both the sprint winner and the GP winner. Was Alex Marquez and Marco Bezzecchi. Obviously, that was Christoph Brun, so hats off to Christoph. 4 people correctly predicted that Di Giannantonio would be the top Ducati. In third, that was the Raccoon, Lim Biggs, DJ Purchase, and Nicholas Junkerfeld. And 11 people correctly predicted that Martin would DNF. We asked what his finishing position would be on the Sunday. Adam Cole, Jackie Fear, Christoph Brun again, Graham Paulson, Martin Darlington, lots of chops. Ferrari, DJ Purchase, Nicholas Junkerfeld, Tony Galletta, and Joe Colombo all said that he would DNF. So fair play to them. We also asked what the most outrageous excuse Dave would give for showing up in quite a weird and wacky outfit would be. Dave, what was your strangest excuse?
My strangest excuse is they were my clothes.
Not much of an excuse there.
No, there was some tomato sauce involved.
Yeah, there was some tomato sauce. Yes, exactly. No, but this is I mean, like, I don't wear clothing. I wear skin coverings. It's literally just to stop me from being arrested for indecency.
There we go. Right. Okay. We also have our Alpine Stars Paddock Pass podcast, Fantasy League, and
I thought you were never going to get round to this, Ed.
And it's gone down to I don't want to say a tiebreaker, but it was a neck and neck championship decider. And has Neil done it, Dave?
Neil has done it. Neil has absolutely crushed. He did lose 18 places, but he finished, let's see, what's that, 73 places ahead of Steve to win the
actually won something.
Yes, indeed. I came third. I was in 125th. Steve, 264th. Adam, you actually had a really good week. You gained 72 places.
Getting the hang of it.
You did, yeah. 2,426. We have winners. We also have a winner in our Paddock Pass podcast Alpine Stars League who will get an Alpine Stars goodie bag. So whoever Lyle is, Lisle, from the UK, get in touch. DM via Twitter, go to the website.
Or through Patreon.
Yes, or email team@paddockpodcast.com. One thing, Lyle was first, Atlas 19 second, and BWE team was third. But the winner, Lyle, was also second overall out of, 70,822 players in the official MotoGP league. And I think they lost by 6 points. So that is genuinely very impressive.
Check out the big brains on Lyle. And I would just like to say that I'm hoping there's some kind of thawing in relations between myself and Steve. It's been quite frosty these past 3 months as the pressure and the tension is ratcheted up. And I'm hoping that over the Christmas months we can reconcile our differences and come back to being friends again.
Yeah, all I can say is open his Christmas present to you very, very carefully because it might be ticking.
That's racist, that is.
Well, anyway,
a clock.
It's been more riveting than the MotoGP title fight, that's for sure. But we'll be back next season for another Alpine Stars Paddock Pass Podcast Fantasy League. Well over 3,000 people playing, so that's no mean feat, I think.
Yep.
Like you say,
3,608 to be exact.
Why was that my final position in it?
No. You beat 1,200 people, Ad.
Oh, right. Fair enough. Okay. Well, that's it. I think we've pretty much finished. Guys, thank you ever so much for you watching and listening, for following and ingesting our inane ramblings throughout 2025. Of course, this is not the end of the podcast this year. We were going to be doing more shows. We do have material for our Patreon subscribers. It's a fantastic Christmas gift if you want to give it to a loved one.
Yes, 100%.
A subscription for the following year.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I would get, if it's going to be a subscription for as a gift, I would get them as soon as possible because on Tuesday there's a test and there's going to be a note show with all of the details of that.
And a Peter Bomb crossover.
Yes, a Peter Bomb crossover. So it's going to be it's going to be read class.
Any final thoughts?
Time for sleep.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'll have final thoughts once my brain has recovered from this season.
Thank you to Renthal. Thank you to Pole Position Travel. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching all this season. And we will be back with more podcasts soon.